Commission meeting for Thursday, May 4th, 2017 shall come to order. We're going to start off with a prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Ford, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Please bow your head as I pray on this National Prayer Day. Dear, wise, and loving Father, first, let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for your life itself and for the measure of health we need to fill our callings for sustainment and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor in bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thank you for loving us, even so, from your boundless and gracious nature. Thank you also for the commitment of these commissioners to give their time and energy to make decisions for the betterment of this community. Please give us the wisdom to make the decisions regarding this water sewer utility that will benefit the community as a whole. It is in your most blessed name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have anyone for public comment?
Yes, we have Monica Smith, and she would like to discuss the Academy in Dunbar Creek and Golden Isles facility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Monica Smith, and I have to admit that after 3 years of attending almost all of your meetings, I am up here and I do not really know what I'm talking about. And the reason for that is because for 3 years I have heard that our wastewater treatment plants are more than adequate, but some of the infrastructure leading to them needs repair. And yet, as I recall at a recent meeting, it was announced that the Commission was going to be looking for a $30 million bond issue in order to make repairs to the wastewater treatment plants at Academy Creek and Dunbar Creek. So what exactly is the problem that needs to be fixed at those plants? I do know that Mr. Holland has been photographing the outflow from the Academy Creek plant for several months. And each time he goes out there, really rather at random, there is scum on the effluent. Now, I have received water, although I didn't drink it, from a water treatment plant. As proof, it had tertiary treatment, and we were invited to drink it if we wanted to. I'm not a big water drinker, so I didn't drink it. But the water that came out was perfectly clear and looked perfectly well to be drunk. Now, the water that seems to be coming out of the Academy Creek plant does not look drinkable. In fact, it looks really yucky. Anyway, the other issue is that in addition to those two plants, we have been told for 3 years that the plant at exit 29, the package plant, which can treat 3 million gallons a day, was underutilized, that there was only one customer all the way out on Buck Swamp Road. Now I have in my hands an application from Mr. Jim Bishop on behalf of the Peninsula and Golden Isles, which is proposing to put some 3,000 housing units out on Buck Swamp Road. And he has been told by the director of the Water and Sewer Commission that there is no capacity for his development out there. Now, I don't think that's quite correct. I've also been told that the problem is that there is not an adequate lift station, or that perhaps the pipes running out there are not adequately sized. However, that is not an excuse to tell these developers that they should go to the health department and apply for septic tanks for 3,000 lots in an environmentally sensitive area just off the Little Sotillo Creek and Buck Swamp. So I would like some explanations. I don't expect to get them today. but somebody has not been upfront about some things, and I hope we get more truth in the near future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, maybe just a quick response to one of the items. We will be addressing the peninsula development that Mr. Bishop will be talking about that in great detail later in the agenda. As to the monies we're spending on the treatment plants to get them up to speed, certainly like any other mechanical assets you might own, things wear down over time. And as they wear down, you do the things you can to maintain them. And at some point, best maintenance. My 1935 jalopy needs to be substantially overhauled. We're at that point. The plants are needing some repairs and upkeep. Not that they're not doing their job right now, but down the road here, we're reaching a point where we're playing with fire if we don't go ahead and proactively do some things to make sure that they continue to stay in good functioning order. And that's where the money was that we were talking about, the substantial money. In regards to Mr. Boland, Mr. Holland's pictures, I was witness to some of the pictures. I didn't see one that, when he got close-up pictures of what was going on, and I understand the circumstance because we've done a great deal to investigate that particular incident, and there was foam out on it. We've addressed that. Folks at the plant have looked into the operational issues. While the water was meeting effluent standards, it did have foam coming on it because of the some operational conditions that allowed certain bacteria, which tend to float and make foam, be present. As a result of a 30-minute, 40-minute maintenance operation did on Saturday, he wound up being there at a time where just the perfect storm of doing the maintenance allowed for the foam, and we can go into greater detail at that outside here if you'd like, but there is not an ongoing foaming issue or scum issue that I'm aware of. When I go down there, I'm not seeing that. And even the instance that he photographed up close when they were doing the documentary thing out there, it was a case where I was on a Saturday. I didn't get a chance, didn't get a call. By the time, I find out about it, the maintenance was done in 30 or 40 minutes, and the problem that had been caused was already eliminated. But again, the plant was producing good effluent. It was just this operational condition that allows certain bacteria to be present on that day. But the other pictures he's provided us were aerial pictures, and I couldn't distinguish any recognizable scum, foam, or other products that resembled anything like what we saw the day that we got that one close-up picture. That's been my experience so far. We can talk about it more though, for sure.
Any other public comment? Commissioners have any other comments?
No, sir.
We'll go to committee updates. We'll start off with public information and customer relations.
Yes, Chairman, Public Information and Customer Relations Committee met on May the 2nd, Tuesday at 2 p.m. The meeting was generally discussion. We discussed the community engagement program that's under development. There was a graphical depiction of communicating the value of drinking water services that had been developed and adopted by the EPA. It was presented. It generally meets our needs, we decided, and on a big picture basis, but we agreed it needed to be tailored to be more specific to the JWSC. So it's going to be tailored and fleshed out, and then we'll go to the next step on defining that program. Secondly, the staff informed the committee they plan to test a texting software called named Everbridge Emergency Notification System, and they'll use this for initially texting our customers with the boil water advisories, and then other notifications as needed, and we'll see how that works as an option on, I think, a 1 to 2 month basis where they'll be testing that system out. One of the items that came up during the discussion was our meeting time, and it was brought up that we wondered whether or not there would be more community attendance
at our commission meetings, if we had those meetings in the evening. A different day of the week, potentially the same day of the week, but maybe evening meetings. And the ideal was maybe we should consider that, talk about it, and review our meeting time and see if there's something else more appropriate. The next meeting will be held on May the 30th at 2 p.m. right here in this room.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Okay. Human Resources and Safety, Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, sir. Human Resources and Safety Committee met this morning at 10, and when we discussed our personnel funding for 2017 or 2018 as a budget, and also those associated costs. It also was presented to us the number of proposed additions to our organization, employees addition to our organization. And also, we're given a schedule of HR's process to hire those positions. Number of people who have applied, and also trying to get those people aboard. Has considerable discussion about those positions, or new positions that will be brought on board, and how they will be funded. And we decided to discuss that further and get a better understanding as to the relative why we need the position and how the position will be utilized as we move forward throughout the year, coming year. We also talked about work-related injuries and recruiting and termination stats, which was revealed to us by our HR department. Sir, that concludes my committee minutes agenda.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone have any questions? Okay, we don't have a facilities committee meeting for this time. The committee is meeting next Thursday, is that correct?
Next
Thursday at 3. Compliance and legislative did not meet, and neither did finance. And they'll meet the following week after the facilities committee on, I believe that's on Wednesday. Okay, for approval, we have 2 items. That's the minutes from the regular meeting and the minutes from the executive session. If you would take a couple of minutes and peruse the minutes, and once you're satisfied, I'll make the motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, April 20, regular meeting.
Second.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of approval of the regular meeting minutes, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous, 6-0. And when you've had a chance to peruse the executive session minutes, I'll take a motion to accept those.
I make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of April 20, 2017.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. We are next going to have a presentation on climate resiliency adaptation. Ms. Lisa Danner from Haggerty Consulting.
Thank you very much. So over the course of the last few months, our company has been working with Jay Sellers, Todd Klein here at the Joint Water Sewer Commission through a grant funded by the Georgia DNR. We have put together a report for water, wastewater, water, the infrastructure utilities for the Joint Water Sewer Commission. and their vulnerabilities and some strategies that can be put into place or have been identified to help increase the resiliency of the utilities here with the Joint Water Sewer Commission. So what we're doing today is reviewing, this is a draft report. The staff we've been working with are in the process of reviewing the report, providing any feedback and comments over the course of the next week to 10 days, and then we can finalize the report. But what we're going to do today is just kind of give you an overview of the report and the strategy recommendations that are included in this report. So the objective of this initiative, like I said, it was to improve the water infrastructure resiliency by developing adaptation strategies. And this is related to sea level rise as well as flooding, hurricanes, those things that can impact the infrastructure. The report is not a tactical plan, it's not a field manual. It's recommendations that we have come up with working with the EPAs. They have a climate resiliency tool that we were able to dump data into to help us come up with these strategies and recommendations for the Joint Water Sewer Commission. So that's what, it's not a tactical plan or field manual to be used in the future. So within this report, the facilities that were included, we had the 3 wastewater plants. We had the Academy Creek, the Dunbar Creek, and Southport Treatment Plant. We have the Fancy Bluff, Harrington, Mallory Street, Golden Isles 1, Old Brookman, and Hampton water distribution systems that were included. And then we had 20 water storage tank locations that were included, both elevated and ground storage tanks that are included in the report, and adaptation strategies provided in this report. And then that's the rest of the other water storage tanks. Also in the report, in its own appendix, there's 139 lift stations that were included in the report. I didn't want to list all them out, but it is its own separate appendix in the report itself. So for the basis, the tool that was used to help us come up with these adaptation strategies, like I said, it was through the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. They have a tool, it's called a pre-op tool. It's their Climate Ready Water Utilities tool that we used as a guide for developing these recommendations. So within the tool, you can go in, you can put in climate change and scenarios, flooding scenarios, to help identify impacts, vulnerabilities as it relates to sea level rise and flooding on the critical infrastructure. Like I said, within the tool, there was a baseline scenario, and then a project scenario could be, the information could be put in to provide that information that comes out in the report. Within those scenarios, it put in annual temperature, total annual precipitation, a 100-year precipitation event, and then the number of hot days over 100 degrees Fahrenheit annually as the baselines to get the report. The time frame from the report was from this year, 2017, until 2200, which aligns with the 2060 projected climate and sea level rise data that is in the pre-op tool. So within the report, there was, when I talked about doing the different infrastructure, there are categories or priorities that were assigned to the different infrastructure. So there was, from a scale of 1 to 5. These align with, within the report, align with hurricane categories. So if you have a hurricane category 1, if that infrastructure or that asset could be impacted by a level 1 or would be impacted by a category 1 hurricane, then it would get a facility ranking of 1. This is also explained out in the report as well. So what we've done with these assets, we've categorized them out, the sewer treatment plants, water treatment plants, and water storage tanks, as well as the lift stations. And it identifies what ranking they got from a scale from 1 to 5. And you can see with the sewer treatment plants, the Academy Creek, the Dunbar Creek Sewage Treatment Plant, and the Southport Treatment Plant all could be impacted or are vulnerable to a Category 1 hurricane. The Category 1 hurricane, as you know, is the lowest level, 74 to 95 mile an hour winds, all the way up to, the catastrophic Category 5. You can see the ranking there with the water treatment plants, as well as the ranking with the water storage tanks. And all of this is in the draft report as well, in more detail. So one of the things also that has come out of this, we started this project pre-Hurricane Matthew. So back in August, September of last year, working with the Georgia DNR, and also at the same time, we've been working with the Glynn County developing a disaster recovery and redevelopment plan for them. So one of the things that came out of this was lessons learned from Hurricane Matthew and things that that we could maybe build upon with regards to what happened during Hurricane Matthew. So leveraging some existing funding sources for potentially immediate resiliency projects. One of the things that came out of this in working with the staff was that being able to use the Academy Creek wastewater treatment facility location as being able to convert that facility into a centralized emergency operations center for the Joint Water Sewer Commission's water production, distribution, and wastewater processing systems. On our staff, we have individuals that are our resident experts that deal with funding sources both pre and post events when something such as Hurricane Matthew. So working with a gentleman in our office, Art, he looked at this, and in talking with the staff a couple of weeks ago, we started looking at, are there some funding sources that maybe could assist the Joint Water Sewer Commission in achieving this goal of converting that facility into an EOC for the Joint Water Sewer Commission. So Art, the gentleman from Hatterdy, did take a look at that, and it is proposing that the Joint Water Sewer Commission take a look at 406 hazard mitigation monies that could possibly help to fund part of this project. In talking with Jay and Todd earlier, we're going to set up a call, hopefully within the next week, with Art, who is our resident expert, to talk through a little bit more and answer questions that they may have, also as well with the procurement and funding with this 406 monies to help do that for that project. There are monies out there, and that there are funding mechanisms and ways that this maybe can be accomplished. And so we're going to set that call up to see if we can get the ball going for that and get questions answered. And that just goes along with the goal summary of defining these long-term goals, and that's what this report is doing, is helping to come up with those adaptation strategies and goals for the Joint Water Sewer Commission. So also within the report, we've got an overview. So we broke out the adaptation strategies into categories. So we're looking at the cost of elevating equipment, flood-proofing equipment, install static barriers, relocate critical functions, seal a building, sandbag temporarily, and install backup power. And you'll notice cost-wise, we've got it ranging from the least cost, little to no cost, being a single dollar sign, all the way up to high cost and high complexity for the strategy being $3 signs. We've got that identified for each of the water treatment facilities, for the wastewater facilities, and the storage tanks, as well as the lift station. So we've got, within the report, we've got solutions for existing construction. So things that can be done to existing construction to help maybe, if that's elevate the equipment or flood-proof the equipment, all the way down to, the sandbagging temporarily, of course, is gonna be the little to no cost, and least complex. So we've got those broke out into each of those categories within the report. Protecting critical components if the treatment plant does flood. And so within that, we've got 5 different recommendations or strategies to help the Joint Water Sewer Commission accomplish that strategy. We also have in the report, we have a series of maps. So, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we've mapped each of the, the water and wastewater treatment plants, the lift stations, and the storage tanks, and show how it relates both to sea level rise as well as the surge maps for hurricanes going all the way from Hurricane 1 to Hurricane 5. So what that impact would be depending on what the hurricane event is in the area. We also within the report have a section on financial resources. So we've provided information of where you could possibly, where the Joint Water Sewer Commission could go to maybe help fund some of these strategies that have been identified in the plan, to either maybe pay for all or help defray the cost for some of those individual strategies that are identified in the report. And that's just, there again, that's just some more samples of some of the maps that are in the report that you have. Any questions?
Commissioners?
Got one.
Yes, sir.
Did the integrity guy have any idea if the funding, the grant could be attained, what kind of funding? Is it a match, 1-for-1, or just have any idea how that works?
Typically, yes, he does. I mean, and typically most of the time with the federal grants, there is a match. Usually it's 75-25, but it can vary from funding grant to funding grant. But yes, he has all that information and can work with the staff on identifying that as well. And what that cost would be to the Joint Water Sewer Commission.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Yep.
Put some money some other places.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Executive Director, we're still on you project list.
Yeah, I may be a little long-winded here today. I've got the 5-year R&R plan as well as the 5-year expansion plan included in your binders today. The first document, though, you back up and said, as we all come to know, we've got a very limited budget that we're working with, very tenuous situation. We don't have free reserves sitting out there that we can do a lot of projects with or any of that kind of thing. So what we were tasked with is taking some $140 million worth of R&R and expansion needs and basically cooking it down into what we could afford based on tap fees and some semblance of a program for funding R&R projects out of the ratepayer revenues. As we looked at it, we have some immediate needs that, since we don't have reserves and we don't have any other means to pay for them, we've got in the first sheet that you see in section 2, we looked at, as Ms. Smith was talking about, the need to work on Academy Creek. And in our workshop discussions, our rate workshop, we talked about the fact that we were going to phase in those things, but probably the more practical way to go is to do all the fixes we have at once. We're refining the numbers, but right now, this is what the debt service would look like based on the numbers we have for Academy Creek. That second column there you see is work we need to do on gravity mains downstream of our SPLOST project. SPLOST project is moving some major flows from North Mainland through alternative routes through force main back down to gravity systems that feed to our, I'm sorry, does everybody know what I'm talking about? Section 2. That's right.
Now you're talking about the post bond for plant upgrades?
Yeah, the bond schedule. In the second column there, talking about the 4035 gravity main replacement. In SPLOST, there was some big project money to, number one, move or reroute some of the flows and fix the processes, moving wastewater from the North Mainland District down to the Academy Creek. Well, in each of these cases, we're tying back into gravity lines that, particularly those for rerouting stuff, we're tied back into gravity lines that were never intended for those flows. As with a lot of older infrastructure, we've got condition-based needs as well as expansion-based needs. Unfortunately, in the last week or two, we found that those receiving lines, not only do they need to be upsized, they're wearing out. I didn't get a chance to bring photos in today, but we understand in the last day or so we've gotten photos of the gravity mains that are downstream where these force mains will be tying in, and that the old reinforced concrete has essentially been eaten up to the point where the tops of those lines are gone. They were steel reinforced, or rebar reinforced concrete fabricated pipe. Without any protection, the corrosive gases from the sewer are just eating through the top of those pipes and basically eating up a lot of the steel rebar that was in them. Correct, Kurt? I don't have the pictures. Well, I'll share those with you as soon as I can get my hands on them. Oh, you got them?
So, time is okay.
Jay, could you plug those in? Maybe we can take a quick peek. While they're working on that, we'll continue the discussion. Basically, what we've come to is we're going to have to fix and rehab probably in the next year a lot of this reinforced concrete and go from a pipe, go from 30-inch up to 48-inch, 42-inch pipe. The cost to do that is between $11 and $14 million. Now, I put $11 million in here, excuse me, for purposes of figuring out what the cost would be to take bonds on it. That third column is the Dunbar Creek plant, which also has some needed rehabilitation. We think it's between 6 and 9, but I was a little more aggressive and conservative here. We think we've got a year or two to get this going. We're doing the process of evaluations on the two plants to refine the numbers and the timing of the work. I failed to say on the 4035 pipe project, I also found out this morning that we're in need of making additional contributions to the second of the SPLOST projects, the 4003 demolition and gravity line upgrades. There's not enough money there. We need another $3.5 million to get the entire scope of the project completed. With the way our revenues are going, with the way our financials are, we feel like we're going to need to go ahead and lump this into this piping project in number 2 to go ahead and secure the funds to make sure we've got enough to do the project. So that's probably going to drive that number up some more as well. But again, some of these facts are just hitting me, so I hadn't had a chance to incorporate them into this. Now, the reason I've got this first sheet in front of me is so you can see what the annual debt service for each of these pieces is going to be, and some idea of when the numbers will hit the schedule in the future. If you look down the bottom 2 rows, we tried to assess how much of the work was being done for the purposes of rehabilitation or condition-based needs, and how much of it was being done to expand capacity for one reason or another to provide for the long term. And as we extrapolate that out, or extend that out, you can see what those impacts will be as we move forward. And I'm planning on, if we do the borrowings for the gravity mains and the Academy Creek this coming year, the first debt service will occur in 2019. So that's when I start this debt service schedule there. Using the proportions of rehab versus expansion, multiplying by the annual debt service, that's how I came up with these numbers. Summing them up. All right, if you go to the spreadsheet on the next page, this is the R&R work. What I've done, we had a planned R&R funding for our future. We were going to go to $4 million for this year, $5 million in R&R capital investments next year, or the following year. Excuse me, $4 million in 2018, $5 million in 2019, $6 million in 2020, and $7 million the 2 remaining years. What I did was take the R&R portion of the debt service out of this, because we don't have any other monies and any other funding sources. We've got to shrink something to pay for it. Subtracted that, and the balance is what we had left to take the other projects in that massive list and plug them into annual projects to do. What you see in front of you is a year-to-year of what we're going to do with the remaining funds through the first 5 years. Some of the projects may be a little more, because all these are conceptual numbers for the most part. So there may be a little more, there might be a little less, depending on what engineering tells us. But this is the plan. And as you can see, an $80 million R&R schedule for 5 years, or plans that we had, I think, in one of the earlier meetings where I presented to you, has shrunk down to about 23 if you don't include the plant and pipeline work that we're talking about. If you go on to page, to section 3, the spreadsheet you have there is the 5-year expansion needs. And this is work that we fund with tap fees. We've been fairly conservative here. I know we've hit close to 600 tap sales this past fiscal year, and we're looking to be on course to do that again here in 2016 and 17. But for conservative purposes, we assume smaller numbers so that we don't, hopefully not err on the high side, but err on the low side. With that said, making the assumptions of what we think we're going to get from the workshop we did here recently on our budget workshop, took the number of taps times the fee rates or tap rates, and came up with the total revenues we expect to generate in each fiscal year. With that done, again, I go back to the debt service on the front, and you can see the amount of debt service we'd be paying out of tap fees drawn. Again, providing us with a remainder that I worked the $63 million list of projects into what we could afford to stay within those budgets. So we went from 63 down to right at 13 million, not including, again, the pipes that we're going to be fixing, hopefully with bond issues, if you guys will allow it or authorize it, and not including the rehab and upgrades that we'll be doing at the 2 treatment plants that we talked about on that first sheet that we looked at. But this is the list as we have it right now. We're still doing some evaluations on the water side to make sure some of our priorities are in the right place. We're doing some modeling, I understand. One of the big pressures we've gotten here of late certainly is we had a visit from economic development this week. The big thing that's going on, we've got a couple of good opportunities out in the North Mainland to get some properties set up to be a huge economic opportunity for our community. We got to make sure they got enough water, enough fire protection. We got to make sure they got enough sewer. certainly we want to try to make sure those things, and we're doing modeling on the water to see where we're at, to make sure all that's taken care of. As we make those decisions, this may get refined some, but the big picture to understand here, and the one I think I really want everybody to understand is, with all the work we got going on, and all the people knocking on our door for us to do things, look at how much money we got to play with to get it done. And we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. These aren't the only folks that came to my door this week asking for money. We've got folks down the road here that employ a few thousand people here in the community that want us to do some stuff for them on our dime. It's getting tight. Hurry. That's my presentation on the 5-year plan. If anybody's got any recommendations, I'm ready.
Yeah, one question.
I just kind of look at you and you had that, I'm gonna ask a question, look.
I think, as we go out with this plan, but, as I look on, first sheet here, you was saying, and also the lady who spoke, was saying about, borrowing for the debt to do this. And I'm sure you're gonna tell us about how we're gonna, what's the payback and how we're gonna pay that back.
Well, what we're gonna do, what I've done is, as I tried to, is we walk through the other sheets, the
Right.
detail sheets.
Across the way, that's how you were doing?
Yeah, we're just gonna take, the row in red is the debt servicing portion that we've been taking out of what we had in our plan.
Okay,
So instead of having funds there to construct projects as we went,
right,
we'll just take it off the top.
Okay. All right.
Other questions? Okay. This needs to be an agenda item for commissioners on the facilities committee, so if anyone has any questions, come up then. And then we'll also make an agenda item probably for finance and the next commission meeting, so everyone is comfortable with what the plan is. And that way, commissioners, you can look at it, study it, and come back with questions. Did you have it? Okay. Okay. I think you're up still.
No, that's.
No, it's time is.
Ready?
Oh, Todd, before we move on,
That's one of the
You want to show
scary,
some of the pictures?
is that the pictures?
that's a pretty good example of one of them. You see here, Glenn, feel free to jump in. In their assessment, this is not a constructed shelf. That's actually what's left of the original
Hi.
inside diameter of the pipe. It's being eroded. Am I saying that correct?
Correct.
It's being eroded or corroded back that far. You can actually visually see it. There's evidence of an old, whatever liner material was originally installed in there, probably factory applied paint of some sort, pitch mastic or something like that. But the real light colored stuff is the sulfur deposits. That's, yes, sir.
A quick question now. This morning when we discussed it, we were going to make a decision about, do we need to take any other precautions near term? Are we at that point yet?
We talked about the need to possibly pull in and do some protection. The areas further downstream, we determined that there's enough depth that bearing load is probably not an issue. It is off the shoulder of the road, but we plan on taking and putting up, communicating with Public Works to put up some preventative barriers so people don't pull over.
This is in the area of B&W grade, north of the community.
Part of it's shallow,
Lambert down to English.
and it's 30-inch pipe. So if the crown is gone, if the crown was to rupture, somebody pulling over it poses a hazard.
Where's that located?
B&W grade road, from Lambert down to the intersection with Old Jessup, and then it continues along the shoulder. And then goes to Whitlock.
Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, Tony.
Glenn, thanks for bringing those in.
We can make these pictures available to the press. They request them.
Okay. Definitely. They're hot off the press for sure, as of this morning.
Just, I don't know the tailors, but Matthew, if you use them, please help with the captioning from our staff.
Okay. All right.
Don?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. It's always a pleasant opportunity to speak before you. This topic is another effort by staff to look for ways to fund things properly. So just a quick overview. The intent of this discussion is to provide a brief overview of how staff is understanding. First, we've got to understand what the situation is and improve the ways in which plan review and construction, inspection, observation activities are funded. Goals include measuring the allocation of staff efforts and resources and minimizing the use of operational monies to fund private and capital projects. This discussion today will primarily focus on staff activities dedicated to private construction and infrastructure extensions, and share a little bit about what we're looking at to develop a fee or rate schedule to do that or address those. So our division is planning and construction. Two primary roles that we have are plan review and construction inspection observation. I would definitely consider these as critical functions. Plan review, I like to look at as ensuring the plan complies with the standards and missions of the board. And construction inspection, or I like to call it observation for certain reasons, is ensuring the execution of that plan, making sure we're getting what we're told we're going to get, making sure that the plan is being worked appropriately. Do want to point out, I look at these activities as mandatory for the best interest of joint water and sewer. They do provide assurance that the modifications and extensions will not negatively impact the function or health of the existing public system. They shouldn't be viewed as an optional service that's provided, but simply as an understood cost of infrastructure growth and development. So, understanding a considerable portion of planning and construction's time and resources is devoted to these duties, meaning private construction or extensions. Staff has been tasked to quantify these efforts to determine how best to ensure funding is sourced appropriately. Currently, 100% of our staff salaries are paid from the JWSC operational budget. The goal of this endeavor is to identify the division of labor between private projects, capital projects, and also vital operational internal support we provide as a department. The system will then be installed to fund those divisions from appropriate sources of three private project activities to be funded through a fee or rate-based structure charged to the applicant. Capital project activities to be charged to JWSC capital projects. And operational support activities to be funded through, or continue to be funded through, JWSC operational monies. Allocation of staff time, of course, we have to understand at this time there's currently really no firm historical metrics on how planning and construction staff time is divided amongst those three major groups of effort. Most logical method, of course, we use CityWorks or have implemented CityWorks work order system. Planning construction is working hard to become integrated with that system. The main focus for CityWorks is to get operational divisions up and going with that. Obviously, that was priority. We are currently getting some of our inspections up and tracking those via work orders. With those in place, we'll have a pretty firm knowledge or history, or start beginning developing history of where our efforts are being focused. But for this initial discussion, we did work with JWSC Finance Division staff to divide up or best estimate how the division of staff's time is allocated. Each planning and construction staff member's time is divided into three categories: private projects, capital projects, and operational support. You'll see an exhibit right below that paragraph, middle of page 2, that gives the breakdown of how this is an initial draft, initial breakdown of how we see each staff position being divided. So So you see each one of our staff members in planning construction, and there at the bottom, you also see staff position budget for 2017-18. That's the 3 new positions that we've requested for next year. So you'll see, just been pointing out, project manager, utility inspector, engineering tech, I fully expect at least 90% of their time to be either allocated either private or to capital projects. That would be the intent. So using these above allocations, a portion of the budget of PNC staff total cost, including the positions that are proposed, the budget facilitation of private construction is somewhere around about $530,000 per year. That's out of our staff budget. Breaking these costs down a little further between plan review and construction inspection observations reveals that plan review, approximately 21%, $290,000 of the total PNC staff budget cost. That's approximately 178 projects of different varieties that we fostered through our department last year, or in 2016. To give you a scale of what that is. And on the construction inspection or observation side, approximately 237,000, or 17% of our total PNC staff budget. That's approximately 91 construction projects that we had to monitor through construction inspection observations in 2016. So it'll get us about 38% of our staff's total cost budget devoted to private construction, something like that, using these divisions, assumed allocations. Next, once we get a firm grasp on what that allocation of effort is, development of the fee rate schedule, having identified that a significant portion of PNC budget is dedicated to facilitating private construction, the next step is understanding how to most fairly bring that component into a self-funded status, or as close to self-funded as possible. Standard fee rate schedule for provided services and activities or expenses. Glynn County Community Development Department does charge associated fees to applicants for the variety of plans that they foster through their department.
What did you say again, please?
Glynn County Community Development does have a fee schedule
Okay,
for
that's-
plan reviews, correct. And that's actually, I've got an Exhibit A, it's attached, that's a copy of this, just for your education there, that's Glynn County's fee or rate schedule for their plan review process in community development. Currently, planning and construction does not charge any fees for the review of development applications it receives from Glynn County or the city of Brunswick. Staff does propose a similar format to Glynn County's schedule, but with some specific differences to incorporate water and sewer infrastructure development. And look at 2 fee schedules, one for plan review, one for construction, inspection, and observations. So there's an Exhibit B, let's see what that is. It's the last page on this handout here, Exhibit B. You'll notice there are some X's on there. The numbers are not filled in at this time. We are diligently working to fill in those numbers. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Plan and development review fees. Just some thoughts on those. We're considering a separate fee for each type of plan review in each stage of review. Some reviews take greater or lesser amounts of effort on behalf of staff to facilitate. Sometimes we get projects that come in different stages of review. Something may already be through zoning, they're in preliminary plat, or they're in construction plans, something like that. We want to be able to accommodate those fairly. Initial base fee with no refund or balance or expenses could be deducted against that base fee as that development is reviewed and different efforts are applied to it. Fees would be due at the original submission to joint water and sewer for review. So in other words, when somebody would apply, all plans, new development, first must go through either the city or the county's development departments. Then they come to us as a secondary reviewer. So in order for us to then begin our review of that, we're looking at that fee being paid at that time.
Does the city have a fee structure also?
I don't have a copy of that in here. They have some similar fees, not near as stringent as the county, but there are some similar fees, application fees and things like that. But I'll grab a copy of their schedule.
But you haven't done the tracking. history of this at all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As far as internally with our,
Right, so we don't know as of this second how much time
right,
you actually spend related to a certain procedure, path, or whatever. Do your plan reviews and everything also include that if you got an application for development, that you do the analysis, tracking the additional flow all the way back to the treatment plant and everything?
that is part of our analysis, correct?
So that, all that time is going to be billed as part of that?
Correct. That's what we're trying to capture, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I think there's going to be a good point from Mr. Ford. I think our fees are going to be somewhat significantly higher than what the fee schedule is shown as an example or a model here. Once we calculate all the staff time that goes into a complete review, an adequate review of a plan, I think it's going to show that it's substantially more than what.
So would the intent then be that this fee schedule, when you develop the numbers, that it would recover the entire 529,000?
That is the goal. That is the goal. That is what staff has been tasked to strive for.
Ultimately, we want to recover everything we actually spend that goes into a review of developer, whatever that number is, if we're a little bit higher, a little bit low, we want to recover whatever we're spending to review developer plans.
Oh, I would take it to be even one more step, that if developers call you for consultations,
We've been talking about
That's an asterisk down here at the bottom, yeah. So
that actually gets billed to that particular development, because that's still your time.
I wasn't sure if we could get by with that one. But we get a lot of those calls, and a lot of staff time is eaten up on those. We would need to talk to you for a couple of minutes.
Well, that's fine, let me get the clock.
Yeah, I know.
there's a certain element of, you know, we are here to support the public and, you know, provide information and whatnot. There is a certain element of that for sure. Sometimes it does get excessive, so we'll leave it at that, I guess. But base fee is proposed on the review side to include allowance for at least one resubmittal to address comments. Additional resubmittals will result in additional fees or deduct from the initial deposit. So another benefit of this, we're trying to encourage the applicants to take our comments the first go around, make appropriate revisions one shot. Let's get more efficient and let's get it right the first time if possible. So it's understood sometimes there's a second revision or resubmittal, but let's try to narrow it down. Two types of base fees. One theory of thought, initial base fee for which expenses are deducted. Balance will be refunded to the applicant at plan approval. So in other words, it'd be a higher than expected base fee would be charged up front. Each activity would be billed up against that deposit, and the balance would be refunded to the applicant at the end upon plan and final approval. There's pro to that. It's incentive for the applicant to minimize the resubmittals in order to obtain the refund, so they can measure that, keep track of that. The con to that is the tracking or administration of expenses in the refund. So we have to develop some form of how do we do that, how do we track these individual accounts, essentially includes what they would be. But we're had some discussions with finance to make that happen, to possibly make that happen. The second type is a flat initial base fee. Boom. One fee that's developed that we would believe would cover most of all instances with extreme. Pro to that would be one-time handling of the initial base fee, so it's a one-time handling of the fee. The con would be excess resubmittals or additional expenses would require additional payments. So then the applicant now has to bring another check every time we need something. So there's cons with that too, with that process. So just different ways we're looking at this. Construction inspection observation fees, that's also, it's a smaller portion of the table on the very back page. That's the very last line in the schedule there. Initial flat fee based on the type of construction project. First of all, what type is it? That categorizes the difficulty or the amount of effort that we can expect to spend on that project. Flat fee would be appropriate to cover expected JWC costs during the life of that project. And we have to consider, we don't want to get to where we purely on an hourly bill rate basis. We don't want to do that. We understand there's be, for our own benefit, periodic inspections, daily inspections, sometimes maybe about one time, twice, that, but we want to try to make that base fee sufficient to cover our efforts through the expected life of the project. With that base fee, projected milestones will be included. Your testing, your measure points, your pressure test, your gravity sewer, air tests, your water main pressure test, chlorination, et cetera, pump station drawdowns, different things like that. The major milestones, they're typical with most projects. But we want to have the different types of fees. Some projects may be, they range from a single-family residential and a tie-in connection. All right, that should be not a whole lot of effort, so you don't want to keep them too long. Up to large-scale commercial development, which takes a very large amount of coordinated effort. So it has to be scaled appropriately.
I don't see on here, what happens if you have a private development that wants to jump on board?
Oh.
Joint water?
Right.
Right, I don't see any like plan review, inspection, camera.
So, very good point. That's something that needs to be added in here. In special cases, first thought, I would say we would develop it'd be kind of an at cost.
You can almost, as I look at it, you can, with the schedule of fees, you've got unit costs for certain things like line inspection stuff. You could almost, in those special cases, do an ad hoc type of billing for them. But it probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and set up a standard set of criteria to fit your existing format.
Right. And Commissioner, that can get pretty in-depth too.
Yeah.
If somebody's come to us asking us to evaluate their system.
After the fact.
Correct.
I mean, you know you're gonna be, if any changes are made to correct it, you gotta go back and re-inspect.
Right. So, in speaking of the CCTV port, so that's typical with every project that has gravity mains in it. We also, closed caption TV, system pumping maintenance, we ask them to come in and do the TV inspection in-house. So, that's obviously expenses and effort come out of their operational budget to take the time to move the truck over and do that. We'd have to find a way to make sure that money goes back appropriately to operations. Water distribution does many things as well on their side when inspections come through. So.
But all those need to be captured here.
Correct. So,
The actual, excuse me, the
Yes, sir.
actual cost for using the 529?
yes, sir.
Is that salary or is that salary plus overhead? Or
That's total cost, salary plus overhead.
Doesn't
Jennings'
include
cost. Yes, sir.
It's a bargain. It'd be a bargain. An engineering firm would put a 1.7 to a 3.5 multiplier on top of that now.
I could do that.
Thank you for the questions. Conclusion, just, of course, successful implementation depends on coordination with Glynn County and City Hall. Defining the internal administrative process, we have to figure out how do we do this, how do we physically take the, and process checks and refunds, if that's the case, or process we determine. Develop and refine refinement of both fee schedules. This is still in progress. This is draft, but our goal is to have this ready for the new fiscal year. So we're plugging in numbers right now. Draft fee schedules are going to be provided. We're working with Glynn County and the city, providing for their feedback because they have to be on board with us on this. It has to be a team effort for sure. And the public. I recommend we provide this to the stakeholders for their review as well. But final versions will be presented back to the Joint Water Sewer Commission Board for review and approval.
Yeah, we kind of need it by the next commission meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are we gonna have them sign a contract?
The applicant or
Yeah,
we can.
do they have a contract with them?
Do they have contracts? When they sign the application, when they submit a project for review.
And it should have everything laid out?
Yes.
So that everything, so we need what the application's gonna look like.
Correct. We'll spell out. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good flesh out of where we need to go, but we need to, kind of get some more detail and the numbers so that the commissioners
You can kind of,
can understand it.
we've got some numbers in mind, I just didn't publish them here. You can kind of infer from the number of placeholders in the fee, the anticipated, in backing out our costs versus the number of projects we did last year or 2016, it's not that unrealistic. It's not that, I think you might be surprised, it's not too extreme of a number I think we'll be asking for these fees.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to talk about public utility on private and gated properties.
Mr. Chairman, my thinking here is there's a lot of situations out there that we face, and we've become particularly aware of a couple of them here lately, that there are private assets out there there are public assets out there in private neighborhoods and developments. As we go forward, certainly there's some issues with those kind of situations. The first one that comes to mind is access. The fact that if we go in and work on those assets that are on private property that serve a particular entity or group of customers, I don't know if we're clouding the line between where we working on private stuff that should be handled by private entities versus using ratepayer funds to work on those things. Certainly the access issue is a consideration for gated communities and such, where we can't get in in a timely way to work on assets that break in the middle of the night or those kind of things. So I guess my purpose in bringing it today was just to ask the commission to think about, do we want to set policy different from what we have in the past, that going forward, if community is private, their assets are theirs, with maybe the exception of water meters if they have multiple meters on the property for different property owners and that kind of thing, individual owners inside the community. Again, I think there's and Mr. Gormley may be able to shed a little light on that, but I think we're walking a tightrope to work on assets that are on private streets, private roads, and that kind of thing, with public funds or ratepayer funds.
Well, my kind of thought process on it is that we count everything from the county right of way. That's where the meter's supposed to be. That's where the county right of way is. And that's what we work on. And everything from the meter forward to the residence or the business is the owner's responsibility. Okay, the county, if I understand the county policy correctly, if you determine to make your community private, whether you gate it or not, there is no county right of way in there, and you are responsible for maintaining that road. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think that we need, and I know we have a mess in history, and we'll have to probably deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But I would think that we would adopt a similar policy to the county, that if there's not a county right of way and it's a private line, the homeowner association or however the developer wants to work it or whoever's doing it, they become responsible for that infrastructure.
Probably the only exception to that would be the water meters, because if you get into multiple
Water meters.
we would still maintain and operate the meters themselves.
Well, why couldn't you just put one meter at the entrance to the development
Well,
and
if
then leave it up to them to divide it?
That's a possibility. That is a possibility. Although, not everybody would want it that way. Some people would want, if you don't have a homeowners association to manage it,
Well,
you might wind up with a private
Yeah.
community where individual owners are having to take care of their own water and sewer.
we have an experiment going on right now that's kind of like that.
Yeah, well,
And-
it would probably help everybody understand, so the county is just a fairly simple question about, you know, roads that we may have, or if it's a new development that wants to be private, you know, they develop it, and they never turn the roads over to us, they gate it, that's private. When they gate it, and the public can't go in and out, see, that's private then. And we don't maintain any of that. The only thing that we do, if you want to call it government, is garbage collection, which we do by contract, and of course, police and fire protection, you know, they need that if some, you know, emergency comes up, because they're taxpayers. And, but as far as public.
Do they
works-
collect the garbage from inside the gates, or does everybody have to bring it out to the exterior?
Yeah,
Inside.
and, because that's really, basically, we look at it as a subscription service now. But still, I don't know about utilities, see, we're not giving up utilities, we just give up roads.
I understand.
And the responsibility they have to maintain them.
I'm just saying, it's
See,
a
that's-
different
so that's a
situation
pretty simple
to,
thing for us, somebody wants to go private. But, as you know, if there's utilities in an area, somebody's talking about, they want to go private, they want to take the roads back and gate the place, and they ask us to do that. Well, if we look with a narrow focus, that's no problem for us, but if we look at the big picture, you know, if there's utilities in there, then the question comes up, how's that going to impact the utilities, and what do those?
that's why I raised the question
Water,
today.
sewer.
I can't fix what we've done in the past if it's right or wrong, but going forward, you know, certainly the question of having water and sewer utilities or any other utility in there and managing it, I guess we could go and look at what the power company, the cable company, and what those folks do, but, man, I don't like digging on private property.
So you say there's a model somebody's doing already?
Yeah, we, South Brockington, the condominium had community water. And they came through their association management as their property manager. And my homeowners association works through that same organization. Since I was on joint water sewer, they wanted to know if we would put water meters in. Okay, so for each individual residence, because their water bill was too high. And so we agreed to do that. There's been some snags in that whole process, which I don't fully understand why, but part of the contract was that we would master meter the water. And then the residents would get individual water meters.
Right.
And we would bill the homeowner for the water usage, and then we would deduct that from the master meter. And if the master meter had more water used than what one added up, the homeowner association had to agree to pay for the difference.
Right.
And there's been, they signed the contract, but they didn't really understand that portion of the contract. And I think we've now got that worked out, that they're starting to understand.
Okay.
Because what you run into with, that's an older association, what you run into is their lines probably are not in great shape. And so they've got water leakage. And what invariably happens in places where you start off with community water is people hook up their irrigation system to the community water and don't tell the community that they did this, which they think that everything on the irrigation system is based on a well. We don't really know.
Right.
And we don't want to go to the expense of trying to figure out their water system. So-
And all the whole community sharing the cost of that, we'll use that water.
Something else that the county does in terms of a development, say a development's going in, or if you got one that's already gone in and the roads have never been turned over to the county, the county only take those roads if they're to our standards. So if a development was put in some time ago and those roads were put in cheap fashion, they want to come back and years later give them to us, we're not going to take them unless they bring them up to standard, our standard. Or if you've got a brand new subdivision going in and those roads aren't put in our standard, somehow, I mean, they're supposed to. But if we go in and find it, we're not going to take them. See?
And that, I think
And
it's
so,
kind of what
so
Commissioner
I mean,
Ford
we
was-
have a policy, and I only tell you that because we do have a policy regarding those issues. And I think JWSC will have to have a policy, you know, for the systems that are out there. This whole thing about when the JWSC was formed, what was in the ground, you know, and all that come over to JWSC, do we own it now and all that? And these other things we're talking about.
And we're finding, even in some of those cases, assets that folks are
Because
not up to spec.
I can imagine some folks, in fact, I know, boy, ain't got a JWSC, I've talked to folks in the past about mobile home park or two. They were put in. What kind of systems are in those places? I mean, I can just imagine. I can imagine what we put in. JWSC would never want to take over ownership of anything like that.
So, Executive Director, what's your proposal? What do you think? What do you
I
think?
would like to, it's not a specific proposal, I just want to get discussion started today, but I would like to see us, at this point, I hadn't thought about the transfer of old assets as much as just stopping the sin from going forward. I don't want to be out there taking over assets that are behind gates in somebody else's property or streets and roads that aren't public and us having to dig on it. Again, working on assets that are on private property is always something I was told, that's private. Shouldn't do it. And I know we've made, various exceptions over the years to do that, and we've got private communities or gated communities here now that we tend to go out and work on their stuff. They're still ours, or they've been.
Well, we're a governing body over at Board of Commissioners. And the mayor may can relate to this, but working on private property with taxpayer resources, that ain't gonna get it today. It used to be done, and so that's where this comes from.
And I feel like we're in kind of that same boat, because ratepayer money going to work.
Now, I don't know about if you're a body like JWSC, where you're in charge of providing it's a utility delivery and management service. And going and working on private property, people may expect, and that's okay, because it's your water and sewer system in there, okay?
It's not a taxpayer.
I can see both sides, but for the county, there ain't nobody, unless you on the receiving end, there ain't nobody that's gonna accept us sending the works out on private property and doing work,
It's not a happy day.
I've had
Well,
no problem.
the cable company charges a fee if you come, they have to work on your house. They always charge a fee, for doing that,
And we could do that for folks if it's private. We have done it. In fact, we've done that for Flexi. But
I'm just saying, well, I think basically to move this conversation along is to compile a list of those areas that would come into play. So we take a hard look at those things.
we're working on that list this week.
All right.
I think maybe Charlie will give us some guidance on what we can do with ratepayer money, because those people are ratepayers. Start to draft a policy to look at, and and we'll try to make it fit as many situations as we can.
They always make a few phone calls to the utilities, see how they deal with it.
Well, I bring this up because I came from another utility, and we didn't do that. We didn't look on lines in private subdivisions and such. It just didn't happen. Unless there was an emergency, there was a public health issue caused because somebody's sewer line was broken, or, yeah, we would step in those cases and build them back, but only in an emergency. Routine wear and tear because they neglected their assets, it's on them. We're different here.
Now, I guess that's enough discussion on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to bring us up to speed on what Peninsula wanted us to do?
Yes, sir. And Charlie, jump in. I was just gonna. We were just talking about, there was probably some legal issues that we'll talk about in the executive session, but the gist of what's going on with Peninsula is, the history is, it's development's been out there for a while. It's apparently changed hands, or about to change hands. They need to find some means to serve sewer to their lots. What they have asked us to do is to provide them a variance, and because there is no capacity at the lift station that serves them, or the nearest lift station, and because they don't have the means to get it there, we've offered them I would write my recommendation for a variance, which they would in turn have to come to the county, because according to the ordinances in the operating agreement, any variances from the requirements to have sewer system, homes tied into sewer, buildings, dwellings, whatever tied in, has to come from the county. But what I was asked to do for their phase one, and eventually for their phase two, is to provide a variance. And I think that's what Ms. Smith was referencing. They want, and it's not 3,000, it's more like 400?
Total.
400 total lots. So they're going to turn the majority of their property into conservancy and outdoor sports recreation type assets. But they wanted a variance to basically put septic tanks on those 400 lots. The expense to, and the driver behind it is, it's going to be a huge expense to convey the sewage from the development back to our assets. Whether we've got the capacity or not, they are just way out there, 4 or 5 miles. And even for a small station, it's going to be a huge expense. So what they've come up with in the short term is the request for us to give them a variance from, any requirements to tie on, because right now there is not current capacity for them to tie on to if they had the pump system. I have told them that I would recommend that we give them that variance and bring that back to you all. The other aspects of this situation we'll talk about later.
On this one.
But that's, unless there's an issue, I'll provide them with variance, or my recommendation for variance.
I think all we have to do is say that current water usage doesn't meet their availability requirements, it will in the future, and maybe like a year that they may be available. I don't know. Okay. Town hall meeting schedule.
In your binders, in section 7, there's a schedule of what we're doing for the, to meet the compliance with our rate resolution and our rate schedule or development. We'll be doing the bill inserts that'll start this week or go out Monday, John?
They should start tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We're going to have notices published in the Brunswick News on May the 26th and June the 8th. As per the requirements, we're going to have a town hall meeting out in the county at St. William's Catholic Church at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, June 14th. We'll have a separate one in the city of Brunswick over here at the City Recreation Center on Monday, June 19th at 6 p.m. Basically go over what we're doing, allow for the public to ask questions and submit their comments. Supporting budget, supporting rate schedule for adoption will be provided at a special call meeting on the 29th of June to allow the commission to approve or disapprove what we've prepared. And that'll be the process that we'll go through. If everything goes well, we'll adopt the budget on the 29th and it'll become effective July 1st.
Okay. Comments, questions? Commissioners, I think we should attend, if you can, and your schedule permits, the town hall meetings.
I agree. They all should be beat up at the same time. I just feel we are going to.
Yeah.
Sir. I am.
Okay. Last thing is the, Mr. Klein.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is the monthly R&R Capital Project status update. Gentlemen, thank you. We're going to set up a overview map. We'll talk about this one here in a second on a couple of projects. There's a location map attached.
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Could you put that there and talk to it from that way so the commissioners can all see it a little better?
Sure.
That is kind of a long. Yeah, a little, you can move a little bit farther that way right there. That ought to be good.
Mark, can you see that?
How you want?
Okay.
Charlie, you good?
Matt, you and Taylor weren't interested, were you?
No, real, I was waiting for it to come up on my own.
That's my man. I told you.
There we go. That one is, it's also attached to the document here in a much smaller format, 11/17. That's the same map there. Understandably, it's a little more difficult to see on 11/17, but also some major points. The first one is we always include a project location map that shows as we go through the project numbers, you can find the orientation of those in the county as we talk along. And the last exhibit I'll talk about is some new work staff's been working on. Right, we'll go through the projects and at any time we'll have to answer your questions. Project 232, State Route 99 Waterline Extensions at Seymour Construction. That project is currently in a little bit of a holding pattern of some sort. The DOT has requested some revisions to the plans on the 99 route due to some existing utilities. We proposed to put a little closer to the road than they had originally approved. So we're working with them through some revisions to those plans. Section on 341, we should have approval back at any day for that work to proceed. So it's a little bit of a stall on the completion date, but it is still in progress. Urbana Sewer Replacement Project 319, Washington County Machine Shop out of Macon. That project is essentially complete or substantially complete. They're working through punch list items now. All the roads are paved. We have worked with city personnel to go and itemize storm drain issues or anything like that as we've gone around through the neighborhoods and include those on the punch list as well. We expect by the end of the month, those guys to be demobilized and out of the picture. But as far as we understand, all systems are working fine as far as the sewer, and also the water improvements that JWSC did while the roads were disturbed. So nearing completion of that project. 421 Mansfield Street, sewer replacement and water improvements. That project is still in motion, primarily working on storm drain work at this time. They are doing a little bit of water work as they go along. Some testing on a few water mains or water connections happened this past week. Still looking to get a schedule of completion from the contractor. Have not obtained that yet, so we are
Is
working.
the sewer work all complete?
Sewer work is complete, substantially complete, except for minor work, invert work, manhole file elevations, that type of thing. But as far as the main infrastructure, it's in the ground, yes, sir. So we're looking forward, as I said, to getting a schedule in hand when that is completed. Project 503, Canal Crossing Water Enforcement Improvements, East Coast Asphalt. It is a Glynn County project. We're working with county personnel, engineering staff. We provided them with punch list items and comments back on the record drawings from the county's contractor, and trying to assist them in closing that project down. Consider area of East Coast Asphalt. We are still struggling to get them to punch that project out. Record drawings have not been submitted, as well as a few minor punch list items, but most major of those minor items, it appears that the force main was installed across the corner of an adjacent property. That has to be verified whether it was or not. If it was, we're going to, of course, request the contract to either relocate or address obtaining an easement, an appropriate easement for that. So a couple issues we're still trying to stamp out on that project, finishing out.
Mr. Klein,
Yes, sir.
on that track and that little piece of pipe across the property, do we put tracking wire or strips in there? Can they kind of use that to figure it out?
We did, Mr. Jones, good question. Thank you for pointing that out. We did, and that's how we actually determined that it crossed. It wasn't from their record drawings directly, because they haven't submitted special record drawings to us. It was actually looking through the easement documents as Canal Crossing proper is trying to convey easements to us and other utilities. We noticed as we overlaid those lines, GIS staff along the way, one thing we're doing really efficiently now is while that pipe is exposed during construction, we have the equipment now to have very accurately GPS within the centimeter grade or survey grade equipment. We then overlay that onto the georeference and overlay it on the surveyor of the record drawings. All that pointed or indicated that the line is coming across the corner of someone else's property. So that'll need to be addressed. We've asked the contractor to investigate and determine otherwise, waiting on that to happen. So we are still holding retainage. It was $271,000 project. We're still holding the 10% retaining on that project. So we'll see what happens from there. Project 505, pump station 2032, regional force main, station improvements. TV Landmark out of Jackson, Florida. That project is going exceptionally well. All the force main is in the ground, tested, and good to go. Currently contractors there at the headworks of Dunbar Creek, making final tying of the force main to discharge there. So I think Monday I expect to be back in Dunbar, actually bypassing. Mark can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but very soon we'll be back in bypass and doing the city form. There's a section of large gravity while we're in there. We added to the project at the very onset to go ahead and rehab this large gravity main while this thing was being bypassed. It only made sense to do it right then and there. It was in very poor shape. I believe double. Yeah, very poor shape. Made sense to go ahead and do this while you got the pumps on site drawing it down, get it done. So we're doing that. But that'll happen first. So I expect completion, of course, end of July was contract time. We expect them to be completed next month. Once it's done, we'll do the drawdown and fire up the pump station, see what we actually got at as far as capacity, be able to adjust our basin maps up. See what kind of performance we're on. All right. Let's see, 2032 capital projects that are either engineering or design in progress. 501 Alder Circle, nothing new to report on that one. It's still on hold, awaiting a reevaluation of the project scope. And this kind of ties into some of Mr. Jenkins, some of the galvanized line projects that we've recently put a little bit of focus on. We may wrap this into there in some fashion, but it's still on the table, it's just in a holding pattern. Project 602, Holly Street, rehab replacement. Bid documents were received this week and are under review. And again, we'll just, now that 2032 is wrapping up, it looks like it's going to synchronize real well with getting that project underway. That'll go to the county for bidding, because that's going to utilize the last little bit of SPOS money with the water and sewer money. And I believe it's SPOS 5, I believe it's the money county there. Project 701, 4048 pump station force main improvements. That project's designed by SEQL out of Savannah. We had bids are due May 10th, coming up next Wednesday. This project is a relocation or taking pump station 4005 out of the loop. 4005 is a red station. It's causing a lot of issues. It's part of the whole North Mainland issue at the moment. This force main is going to reroute 4048 in that series of stations around 4005 and discharge into gravity below. So that's, we put 120 days construction time. That's a pretty aggressive schedule on that project. 4 months, that's putting us down in November, I believe it is, for completion date. That is gonna, it's a cooperative project or something that has to happen in coordination with phase 1 of the SPOS 2016 project.
Okay, how does the status of the gravity line affect this?
This one actually, so 4048 project we just spoke of is this little section down here. The gravity mains that we showed the horror picture of earlier are in this section through here. So actually, phase 1 is splossed.
Not affected.
Not affected by these gravity mains here. So not a part of that system.
But it will affect when we come.
Will affect phase 2 and phase 3 when those are rerouted. Correct. So we can bring that into a component of that. We'll talk about that in a second.
So, okay, talking about timing, we have to kind of fix the lower portion either ahead of or concurrently with what we do up north.
It would be wise, The good
Well, I
thing,
mean, we're gonna turn the flow around, so we'll have an increased amount of flow, correct?
correct.
Going through that gravity line, which is a 30-inch line, which is, from the description, the best description is wasted.
It's very foreshadowing, yes, sir. So the good thing about the SPLOS, the way that we're designing it, we're keeping the operational ability to still discharge the way it's going now, to keep that flow off or divide it even. We're keeping things valved appropriately so that we can still discharge one way or the other. So when these rehab efforts, SPLOS is still proceeding. As these rehab efforts are taking place, we'll still have the ability to divert some of the flow back at the original.
How many linear feet of gravity is in that?
6 and 11, about what, 17,000 linear feet. I think the gravity we're talking about between B&W Grade down Whitlock to the downtown area. Back out
Okay.
this
Do we
direction.
have to open up the ground?
Yes, for the gravity.
What
sections.
what material are we gonna use?
We would not go back with concrete, that's for sure. That was, I guess that was the technology of the day, but plastic, we go back to plastic, current technology.
Well, you can't run, I mean, it's a 30-inch line, but can you burst the line? And put a 42-inch down?
But going up more than 2 pipe sizes, I don't think you can do that, not with pipe bursting. I think 2 pipe sizes is the max that they, am I correct, Kurt? 2 pipe sizes is about the max they'll let. And going from a 30 to a 42, so you're talking about 3, 4 pipe sizes?
But this gravity line we're talking about, that's already part of the splosh?
No,
No, sir.
This is all brand new?
This is,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
all-
problems we've got in addition. This is in our
oh,
master
by the way,
plan.
we have this problem too.
So all of the rate structure in the workshop that we were presented, this was not part of it?
That's correct.
We've got it in our master plan for us to do it. Or had it in our master plan.
I guess my question is, when is all the calamities gonna stop?
Remember that 180?
Outstanding, yes.
I got a question. On the project 701, you scroll down, is it bids due Wednesday, May 10th? Bids on what, if you already awarded it? What bids you?
Construction bids. Yes, sir.
Isn't already awarded to?
Let's give those to the engineering, the design.
Okay,
Yes.
design, they design, okay, all right.
Thank you. So, the high points on 702, the North Mainland, that's 11.7 million project out of SPLOST 2016. Again, we know it's divided into 4 phases, and that's what I'll point out. Now the moment's probably to talk to it. Divided into 4 phases. Phase 1, which is right here, this lower section. Phase 2, which is this section here, bypassing 4036. Remember, we put the 20-inch force main, it's already in place in Canal Crossing area and down Canal Road. Phase 3 is the reversal of 4110 on Harry Driggers Boulevard, connecting to that new 20-inch force main. And the proposed Phase 4 was a reversal of 4039 to come back to the new 20-inch force main on Canal Road. Once 4039 is reversed, that would eliminate this whole route around the eastern side of the county and down through this section. We just talked about the topic of downstream gravity. It's been noted, it's been shown in our master plan, downstream improvements are needed. We knew that there were some improvements needed there. We didn't know the degree, especially didn't know the degree until the most recent information we got. It's very difficult to do the assessment. These are large gravities. You can't get our camera equipment necessarily in there. You literally have to raft the proper equipment in there and do profiling. Right. Caroline had the proper equipment to do that. Larger cameras and whatnot. So it's unfortunate. One option for us to do, obviously, you don't want to turn all this flow around onto this bad sewer until it's in good shape. Phase 4 is a possibility that we could take that effort and put it into downstream improvements here, rehab. Reversal of 39 isn't critical. We're doing phase 1. We're improving this whole chain of pump stations. 39 in its flow, there will be plenty of capacity at that point to continue to take 39. So this is one section that we could, if it's possible, devote to where we found what we need really is down here now.
But we've still got the demand at the top end of folks wanting us to provide tradesmen's help.
Still caution on the 4039 because the force main that passes through Fletsy is in poor condition. It has failed since I've been here. In 3 years, it's failed 8 times. We've had to put Band-Aids in it, and there's a multitude of times before that. So it's a ductile iron pipe that apparently suffered some impacts due to trenching equipment many, many years ago, and it keeps showing up repeat failures. So capacity, Todd is 100% correct. Condition, that's a different story.
Yeah, it all needs to be done. That's how you prioritize it.
And some of the creative thinking these guys have done to bypass the 2 larger lift stations that were involved in this, to save on having to rehab those 2 stations. We talked about that. It does save some expense and effort, not having to rehab those two, but they are, even if we don't expand their capacity and repump a couple more times, which reduces our future operating costs, they are still in terrible shape. The wet wells, the force mains, the same kind of conditions we're talking about at 4039 exist over here, and probably any number of others. Again, the question you asked so appropriate, Commissioner Ford, when are the calamities going to end? Never. We got a lot of problems out there that are just waiting.
Definitely. Phase one, which is this first initial phase of SPLOST right here, we're doing this as a design build, engineering team up with the contractor. We just had the initial pre-proposal meeting last week. We had a room full. We had an unexpected turnout for that. 30 folks interested.
That's good.
Got a lot of questions. We expect to get a turnout when those proposals come in. Hopefully we'll have some good ones to review. So don't have a time frame on that one. We haven't, they're supposed to come back to us with a proposal. We expect that's probably a 6-month project once it gets underway. But that's not really line work. It's more pump station upgrades and re-coordination and repiping and that type of work. Phase 2 down here is reversal around 36, extending our new 20-inch force main through Canal Road, bypassing 4036, taking it out of the equation, and discharging further on down to the gravity we were just discussing. Phase 3 we talked about earlier was on Heritage Boulevard. Phase 2 and Phase 3 and Phase 4, we're putting together right now the scope of engineering design work for the RFP. So,
How long is it going to take to design the engineering on the gravity replacement?
gravity replacement? Ooh, that's a good question.
Have we already started some of the geotesting, geotechnical work?
We have up on SPLOST Phase 2 section. Yeah, we're trying to be a little proactive on that because that takes a little time. So we've already initiated that. There's, one of the things that we discover along the way is that we don't necessarily have easements everywhere we have lines. So we're having to obtain those now in some areas. So the work we're doing proactively with an engineer, local engineer, is get those easements squared away. The geotech work, the survey work, will help us jumpstart this Phase 2 project as quickly as possible. So,
As, the plan is to go out and do a bond to try to clean up some of this. That's probably not going to be for a year. I don't know whether the line can stand it yet, can it?
oh, that's the question. We found some scary situations. We're going to be reviewing the video that Caroline provided. And we'll be able to better answer that question. What's it?
We're gonna do more spot checks.
More spot checks, too. That's it, yeah.
We need to scope the problem,
Definitely.
but
So, exactly, fully understanding the issue. Project 703 Pump Station 4003 decommission is the second SPLOST project. Budget on that, as Mr. Jumpkins said, is more likely 6.8 million. SPLOST 2016 devoted 3.3 million to that project. So, design, engineering, a portion of it, we can definitely do for 3.3 for full completion and decommission that station. It's looking like it's more like 6 million. So, but we are in the process of putting RFP together for that project. 704 Canal Road to Glencoe Parkway 12-inch water main loop. We have a budget in there of $1 million for that. As we said before, right now, the airport, Broad Industrial, that area there is fed by a single 10-inch feed through Flexie's property. And if that were to have an issue, that would potentially put the airport out of water. So this is a water line loop that's been proposed for a number of years, and it's just getting it on the table, designed and in motion. Now, the county is currently putting a new bridge in over the Altlaw Canal right on Glencoe. And we met with them at their pre-construction meeting and also on site this past week. To try to be proactive, we're going to go ahead as part of their permit, go ahead and put in a section of water main through their their construction area. So we teamed up with them to do that. We're currently getting prices to have either our own directional driller or have the county's contractor. We're going to also allow him to provide a price as well to do that work. So it makes sense. Just go ahead and do this while their permit's in place. Let's go get the pipe in there. We want to make sure that we get in there before any of the utilities as well. Because there's a lot of utilities jockeying to get on that south side of the bridge. Some of them coming from the north side and whatnot. It's a 4-lane bridge with 2 bike paths and whatnot. It's a really nice bridge when it's done. Takes up a lot of areas. We're trying to get in there while it is good. Make sure they're still in. So getting prices on that right now. And last project we got shown on the list, Hatola. That's one little small water line connection to create further redundancy of loops between the old city and the old county systems. One thing I want to mention on that, when we made the connection between the 16-inch or to the 16-inch on in front of Canal Crossing, what Water Production Operations has noticed that it's starting to drive our water production facilities, our wells on the North Mainland, the Mycene, going out 1 and 2, or Mycene wells. They are starting to pump too hard. So we're looking at the option to put in some pressure reducing valves in the system to help force the city system to pump appropriately. So it's what happened when the connection was made hydraulically. The demand is it's easier to come from those 2 wells than it is from the city system, and so it's overdrawing those 2 wells. So it's a common issue when you connect systems. It can be handled through pressure reducing valves or different smart valves. We're investigating on best where to locate those right now. So right now, water production's having to stay on top of the wells, make sure they don't draw the ground storage tanks down faster than the wells can produce water.
This is part of that modeling we were.
The difference between those 2 wells, Golden Isles 1 and 2 are Mycene layer. They're a shallower layer aquifer that they pull from. The city's wells are primarily upper Florida, and they have a much higher yield of water. So, the Mycene wells don't produce quite the quantity of the upper Florida wells. So that's being evaluated that. Other topic I want to hit while I'm up here and have the opportunity is the last map you'll see. And again, I understand it's maybe a little difficult to read because it's a large format map that's condensed down to 11 by 17 for the handout. But what we've done is there's a lot of questions on capacities and pump station conditions, basins, whatnot, in an effort to become more visible with the information we have, so folks can take a look at the maps and see, hey, where's my lot, where's my parcel at? There we go. Thanks, sir. Larger version. We can take a look after the meeting as well. So staff put a lot of time and effort here, and also working real closely with Pam Thompson in community development. She requested, an easy way for people to understand this information as well. So this is what we come up with, basically red, green, and yellow. Red means it's a basin which we currently would not allow a new connection to for an issue. Now this map here does not give any specifics as far as capacity. It's simply red, green, yellow. Yellow is a basin that right at this moment has an issue, either capacity or whatever. But we have a schedule to perform some type of upgrade to it. If there is a schedule to upgrade that, we've included that in the table up in the upper left-hand corner. And also that table shows you what all basins are affected by that installation. If there's no issues with the pump station basin, then it's simply green with its designations. But the intent is for folks to be able to take a look and see where their location of interest is and see if there's any sewer basin issues related to that. So staff's done this one, also from North Mainland. Going through a couple of final tweaks and improvements, and we'll likely be publishing these on our website, providing these to the county next week. So, it's all in an effort to become more visible and easier to understand.
The mainland map's going to include Brunswick, South mainland, all that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, one other thing to point out on the map. Working with Pam and her staff at the county, you'll notice in the lower right hand, one of the things we kind of wanted to get a better understanding of is what is our sewer, our liability in sewer basins. In other words, how many vacant lots are out there that could be developed tomorrow, so they comes and obtains an early permit for it. That's what these numbers are here. So it's the sewer basin with the associated number of existing platted lots in those basins. So that's an effort to, we're putting a lot of information on the same map, but it's an effort to understand what our liability as far as sewer capacity really is. So Glynn County GIS is working real closely with us on that. Being a great team there.
So after the 2032 and 2002 upgrades are complete by September the 8th, how much of that yellow turns to green?
You will see mostly everything, everything north of the northern half here. Yeah, so when 32 comes online, you'll see everything likely from here
All the way
north.
up. So that goes green.
Turn green, correct, sir. 2002 upgrades happen. You'll see likely everything in this coordinate down here turn green. So the remaining red ones you'll see are these isolated ones. Now some of them, like 2036, it's fully built out right now. So unless somebody were to tear something down and subdivide, there wouldn't be really any new connections happening, but it still does designate as currently operating over capacity. So that's why it is still red. But you're going to see the dramatic change after July 20th when the contract ends for 2032. We started up a lot of these. You'll see this whole northern end likely turn green. Totally.
What about that island club right there?
Island Club, yes. So 2029, yes, sir. It's currently red. Kirk, I'll let you want to speak on that one or not, because there's a couple.
We
got a couple
did
requests.
an impeller change on the pumps to try to gain additional capacity. We were able to satisfy some immediate need in that area, but that's going to need a complete lift station upfit. We're trying to look at creative options at that lift station. That's actually been identified on the master plan since when I came here as the one that needed a complete lift station upfit. Unfortunately, there's been other areas that demanded our attention first, but she's on the top list of priority. No, I know it's not what you want to hear. I'm sorry. I don't have a pump on the.
Do you have a date? Do you have a time?
Have
these
developed one at
existing
this
homes?
point.
No?
No, I haven't developed one at this point. I apologize, sir.
Is that something we handle with a proposal? Unsolicited proposal possible? Depends what kind of growth. There's not much other growth in that
Not a lot in
basin.
there.
I don't know who would want to.
Now, that's a lift station that's sitting in a private area,
Yeah, that's one of them.
okay? So my question is, do we have a big enough footprint to do what's necessary to the lift station?
We're probably gonna have to step outside of what our current design parameters are for that. We have done.
We'll
it in
just step
other
out
areas.
of our design parameters.
That's a suction lift station presently. Our normal methodology is submersible. To get, it's not gonna meet what our current design criteria is, because a lot's actually substandard for our criteria today. But we can make something work for that lift station. It's just that it's not as easy as, we tried the easy approach. We went after it with the easy approach, and we were hoping that we were gonna get additional flows. The truth of the matter is, we pushed those crowns as far as they'll go. And the next step is horsepower upgrades And it's kind of one of those, you're throwing good money at bad, because she really just needs a complete outfit. So that's why it's so challenging. We did attempt everything that we could come up with, and we've got to go back to the drawing board to come up with a better fix. That does not help the poor residents that want to go forward.
The question, that Chairman, you were, do we need more real estate? Do we need more real estate for the creative options?
No, I think we can make it fit. It's just that our present design standard, for a variety of reasons, really wouldn't apply there, so we're
Is
having
that
to look at something else.
because we don't have enough land, or is that because of what they need?
Because of where it sits. You have to know the site. It's in a little bit of a challenging location.
Well, yeah. I mean-
And it leads to an eyesore for the next door neighbors, quite frankly, and I agree with them. But it's whoever developed that, that's what they came up with back in the day.
Okay.
One of many were attacking, but you know, they focus on the stuff that's gonna go green, please. I know.
There's some good news in there somewhere?
Wait till that green stuff pops up.
Kurt's got a good point. I will say it's changed even over the last year. It's changed dramatically. A lot of work the system company's doing. A lot of those stations, smaller stations, once were red, have become green again. So a lot of effort will be after
Lots of
that.
work. And, I mean, some of the stuff, when the ink isn't even dry when Harry sends it forward, I'm like, well, we've got this one we're working on now. So, really, we are hustling. Just not fast enough for everybody.
Are we ready for the executive director's update?
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Covered most of the things that I wanted to cover today through the pretty lengthy agenda, but one of the things I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, I sent out an email and an invite to each of you. On the May 9th, this coming week, Tuesday, we've got at 10:30, we're going to be hosting the Island Planning Commission and the Glynn County Planning Commission's joint meeting, monthly joint meeting. It'll be here. They want to get an overview of our situation, which I'm going to give them the dog and pony that I've rolled out to a few other civic appointments or engagements. And the other thing they want to talk about is, I think something that you guys are familiar with, is the fact that how do we interface with the decisions, particularly the island folks, the IPC folks want to know how what we do impacts what they do. And we're going to go through and answer some specific questions they had, as well as go over our situation and where we stand. But I invite you all to come in and observe and pitch right in if there's need to. Other than that, I don't have any updates.
Okay. Pretty much I was going to say the same thing you invited to the meeting. I'm going to attend since it's another set of commissioners. But you certainly invited. It'll be interesting to see their perspective on things. With people. Take time. You know, I'm trying to see.
You bring lunch?
I don't think we have a lunch hour.
We have lunch. At 10:30, I mean, you gotta have lunch.
I didn't plan this meeting. I'm just facilitating it at their request. I'll speak with the person that called.
All right, so we need to go into executive session. Okay, so should I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion, we go into executive.
All second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. Type in. We are moving into executive session. We want to meet in 5 minutes. Okay, can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Make a motion, we come out of executive session.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Always on that one. Second?
Quick.
Second, all in favor, we're adjourned. Thank you very much, gentlemen.